Hi, it's Rabbi David Kaplan from Ohev Tzedek in Wilkes-Barre with a pre-Passover Pesach message for Ohev Tzedek and beyond. The Yom Tov, the holiday of Pesach, which begins this evening, has two different names. It is referred to as Pesach, the festival of Passover. It's also called Chag HaMatzos, the festival of the matzahs. And even though it may seem that Manischewitz has a little bit of a sponsorship thing going on here, there is clearly much more lurking below the names of the festival. There is a duality to our lives. We see things, how could we not, from the human perspective. And of course, God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, sees things from his perspective. And these two names, whether we call the Yom Tov, the festival Pesach, or Chag HaMatzos, the festival of matzah, it speaks to, the two names, they speak to the two different sides of the equation, the God side and the human side, our side. How so? Pesach, Passover, clearly speaks to our gratitude to God, that in the original Passover, when the Jewish people were quarantined into their homes, and the night of the 15th of Nisan, this evening is the anniversary, they were told to eat from the Korban Pesach, the Paschal lamb. They marked their doorpost, the lintel, with the blood of the Korban, of that sacrifice, and then they had their Seder that evening, the very first Passover community Seder. And they were quarantined, and they were only allowed to be with immediate members of their family. Each member of their family specifically had to be counted for the portion of the lamb that they were to eat that night. It was forbidden to leave over any of the meat. So that speaks to our perspective. The gratitude that we had, that while we are sequestered in our homes, all around the Jewish people of Egypt who lived in Goshen, there was a magefa, there was a disease, a plague, the plague of the firstborn, makas bechoros. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu delineated between the homes of the Jews and the homes of the Mitzrim, of the Egyptians. Hence the name Pesach, God passed over. But one can only imagine the fear in the hearts of each of the Jewish people in Egypt. For even though they had been told that God would look over them, still there was tremendous uncertainty and worry and stress as the night carried on and the cries of the dead Egyptians and their families emanated from the Egyptian homes all around them. It must have been a crazy night, very stressful night. That is our side of the equation. Our Hakar Satov, we call the holiday Passover because of God's protection. What about the Chag HaMatzos? What about the other name for Passover, the festival of matzahs? Is it simply a Shatzer or a Manischewitz sponsorship deal? I think it goes way beyond that, because this is the God side. He sees in us the courage that we have, that we, with the matzah cracker and little else, were able to, at his behest, his command, leave Egypt into a very uncertain future, into a vast wilderness, the Midbar. There weren't grocery stores there. There was no ability to sustain human life in the wilderness. And yet, the Jewish people, we went. And that's why it's the Chag HaMatzos. Hashem is taking note of the courage of the Jewish nation, that with our unswerving emunah, our faith and trust in God, we went out into the wilderness. And that's why Hashem calls the holiday, from his perspective, Chag HaMatzos. I think you can see how this duality plays out even for us this evening. For we too are going to be locked in our homes with our immediate family, or even perhaps alone. And we have the matzah. We have the Seder. But we also have the uncertainty, the fear of what's going to be, not so much this evening, but for the immediate future, and for even beyond the immediate future. What will be? We don't know. It's a little unknown. And yet, we trust in God. For Hashem is our Passover. The night is described as a Leil Shimurim, a night of watching, that God watched over the Jewish people. And in the merit of our ability, that even alone, we will have our matzah, our maror, our haroses, the arba kosos, the 4 cups. Everything that we do shows the courage, the dedication, the unswerving, unwavering emunah, trust in God that he will take care of us. He will take care of our people, our nation, our world. And this Pesach, as we are alone, it will be very easy for us. It won't take a lot of imagination. As the Haggadah tells us, B'chol dor v'dor chayev adam liros es asma ki ilu hu yatsa miMitzrayim, that each and every one of us has to see ourselves on the night of Passover like we were truly part of that Passover liberation, the experience. The first part of that experience that we spoke about in the few minutes of this talk speaks of the uncertainty, the fear factor. And God was a shomer. He was watching over us. And in the merit of our ability to continue with our seders this evening, either alone or with your families, that should be a schus, a merit, that God should watch over each and every one of us, tonight, tomorrow, and going forward. On behalf of myself, and my Rebbetzin and Rachel and Tully, we want to wish each and every one of you a chag kasher v'sameach. It'll be a different type of Passover, yes, but it'll be a Passover for generations. It'll be a Passover where we can recreate the past, and the next morning, whether the morning is a figurative or literal morning, there will be a boker, there'll be a morning for all of us, a light at the end of that tunnel, and that light will be the geula, the ultimate redemption for all of us and for our world. I wish everyone again a good Yom Tov and Chag Kasher v'Sameach.